The day aliens learned there was a reason humans were the only species still using outdated weapons. HFY Sci-Fi story. Prologue: The Forgotten Resistance. The Galactic Federation was a paragon of technological advancement and societal cooperation, or so it proclaimed. Spanning thousands of worlds, it united species that once waged wars to extinction. Now, harmony was enforced through shared technology and a common understanding. Progress meant survival. Weapons evolved alongside governance, and galactic warfare had become a delicate balance of finesse and precision. Energy shields, plasma-based weaponry, molecular destabilizers. These tools defined combat. And yet, for all the Federation's grandeur, its undercurrent of tension was undeniable. Some species grew tired of shared governance, seeking dominance under the pretense of Federation laws. Chief among these rising powers was the Vakari Dominion. Known for their crystalline biostructures and reliance on hyper-advanced automated war machines, the Vakari had perfected conquest. Systems fell without resistance, their enemies crippled by superior weaponry and overwhelming numbers. To the Vakari, war was no longer a test of will or ingenuity. It was a precise and predictable equation. When their ambitions turned toward the Sol system, it seemed inevitable that humanity would fall. After all, humans were backward relics of another age. Where the galaxy had moved toward laser and plasma weaponry, humanity clung stubbornly to ballistics and chemical propulsion systems. Kinetic weapons, an archaic term synonymous with obsolescence, remained the staple of human arsenals. Energy shielding, the cornerstone of modern defense, was conspicuously absent in their fleet designs. The Galactic Federation had long viewed humanity as a strange anomaly, tolerated only for its limited influence on galactic affairs. But as the Vakari prepared their fleets for another routine campaign of subjugation, whispers spread through Federation corridors. Humanity had not fought a galactic war, but they had never lost one either. Buried beneath their outdated technology and stubborn pride lay secrets the Federation would soon witness firsthand. Chapter 1: The Vakari's Confidence. The Solar Reaver, flagship of the Vakari fleet, entered the Sol system like an unstoppable force of nature. Its black crystalline hull absorbed and distorted light, making it seem more a void than a vessel. Flanking it were countless warships, destroyers, and dreadnoughts, each bristling with the finest weapons the Dominion had ever created. Their invasion force was larger than any humanity could feasibly counter, a show of excess meant to crush even the faintest hope of resistance. On board the Solar Reaver, Supreme Commander Nifel Vrex watched Earth's holographic image with calculated indifference. The planet, though verdant and teeming with life, was unimpressive. Its defense networks were laughable, decades behind even the most primitive Federation standards. "How predictable," Nital remarked, addressing his command staff. "A species too stubborn to evolve has no place among the stars. Initiate ground deployments. Their surrender will follow soon after." Subcommander Lysek, a lithe Valkyrie tactician whose crystalline exoskeleton glowed faintly under the bridge lights, raised an eyebrow. "Supreme Commander, our intelligence reports suggest an unusually high military presence on the surface. It's possible they're hiding advanced systems." Nithal waved a dismissive hand. "Paranoia. They're little more than scavengers playing soldier. Deploy extraction teams. Ensure our orbital positions cover all major industrial centers. I want no surprises." Across the fleet, deployment orders were given. Dropships descended toward Earth's atmosphere, flanked by squadrons of fighters. Orbital bombardment cannons targeted communication hubs and strategic locations, intending to sever human coordination without being. To the Vakari, this was another exercise in dominance, but humanity was watching. Beneath the surface of Earth, in command centers built to withstand planetary bombardments, humans prepared not for surrender, but for war. Chapter 2: Humanity's Silent Resolve. Beneath the Appalachian Mountains, the Earth's strategic command center was a hive of activity. Holographic displays mapped the Vakari fleet's movements, tracking every ship and deployment with unsettling precision. At the center of it all stood General Elias Carter, a grizzled veteran who had spent decades anticipating this day. His expression, though calm, carried a weight of grim determination. "They've underestimated us," Carter said, his voice cutting through the low hum of reports. "That's their first mistake." Colonel Sarah Drexler, his chief strategist, stepped forward, her dark eyes locked on the holograms. "Their fleet is enormous, but their tactics are formulaic. They rely on overwhelming technology, not adaptability. We'll use that against them." Humanity's approach to war was rooted in painful lessons. Centuries of conflict had taught them that technological superiority was meaningless without resilience. Their weaponry, though crude by galactic standards, was brutally effective. Kinetic slugs fired from railguns could bypass energy shields designed for plasma and lasers. Simple chemical explosives remained devastatingly reliable, unaffected by electromagnetic interference. Even their spacecraft, reinforced with dense alloys, could survive impacts that would obliterate more advanced vessels. Carter turned to the room, his voice carrying the authority of a leader who had prepared his entire life for this moment. "We hold the line. No mercy, no surrender. Let's show them why humans don't evolve. Because we never stopped being dangerous." Chapter 3: The First Strike. The Vakari invasion began with calculated ruthlessness. Dropships landed across Earth's major continents, deploying battalions of crystalline infantry supported by automated combat drones. Orbital strikes targeted what the Vakari assumed were key military installations, their energy cannons vaporizing decoy structures and empty facilities. For the first few hours, it appeared that Earth's defenses were non-existent. Then the counterattack began. Missile silos, hidden deep within forests and mountain ranges, erupted with fire and thunder. Hypersonic projectiles tore through the atmosphere, striking Vakari dropships with devastating precision. Shield generators, calibrated for energy-based attacks, failed spectacularly against the sheer kinetic force. In orbit, Earth's railgun platforms, disguised as abandoned satellites, came to life. Massive slugs, traveling at near light speeds, pierced through the hulls of Vakari destroyers, bypassing shields and causing catastrophic damage. The Dominion, accustomed to facing enemies reliant on energy weapons, was utterly unprepared for the simplicity of Earth's arsenal. "What is happening?" Nithal roared aboard the Solar Reaver as his tactical display filled with red alerts. "How are their weapons bypassing our shields?" Lysak, now visibly unsettled, replied, "Their weapons don't rely on energy signatures. They're physical, kinetics." Nithal's crystalline visage darkened. "Archaic, primitive, but effective. Adapt our countermeasures. I want every human installation reduced to rubble." Chapter 4: Humanity's Unyielding Defense. On the ground, humanity fought with a ferocity that stunned the Vakari. Soldiers equipped with high-caliber rifles, explosives, and EMP grenades engaged Vakari forces in brutal skirmishes. Their tactics were unpredictable, exploiting terrain with surgical precision. Ambushes, hit-and-run attacks, and coordinated artillery strikes kept the Dominion off balance. Human engineers, knowing the weaknesses of automated systems, deployed electromagnetic pulses that crippled Vakari drones. Entire battalions were left stranded, their advanced weapons rendered useless against simple yet devastating countermeasures. In urban areas, humanity's civilian militias joined the fight, wielding modified ballistic weapons that tore through crystalline armor. Every street became a battlefield, every building a fortress. The Vakari, for all their technological prowess, found themselves fighting not an army, but an unrelenting swarm of defiance. In space, humanity's fleet engaged the Dominion with equal determination. Though smaller and seemingly outdated, Earth's ships were designed for survival. Thick armor plating absorbed damage that would obliterate more advanced vessels. Railguns and missile barrages targeted engines and weak points, exploiting the Dominion's reliance on automated defense grids. The Solar Reaver, now surrounded by chaos, struggled to maintain command. Nithal watched as ship after ship fell to the unrelenting human assault. "This is no war," he muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. "This is annihilation." Chapter 5. The Dominion's Desperation. The battle above and on Earth raged on, and for the first time in centuries, the Vocari Dominion faced a force they could not subjugate. Their ships, sleek and massive, were being torn apart by humanity's relentless assault. Every Vocari tactic was met with brutal ingenuity. In the deep recesses of the Solar Reaver's bridge, Supreme Commander Nightfall Vrex stared at the tactical holeup. His fleet, once an unbreakable wall of power, now glowed with symbols of destruction. Ships lost, battalions wiped out, communications severed. Every adjustment they made to counter humanity's strategies was anticipated and exploited. "Supreme Commander," Sub-Commander Lysak began, her voice trembling, "our losses exceed projections by 78%, requiring a restricted base altogether. We must consider a strategic withdrawal." Nithal slammed his crystalline fist into the console, the impact sending sharp cracks through the surface. "Withdrawal? Against a species that throws metal slugs and crude missiles? This is not a war. We are fighting chaos made manifest." He turned to the tactical display, narrowing his eyes on Earth. "Activate the Annihilation Protocol. If this species will not submit, we will eradicate their planet entirely." The Annihilation Protocol was the Dominion's final solution, a weapon of unspeakable power reserved for only the most defiant enemies. A massive gravitic destabilizer, housed within the core of the Solar Reaver, began to hum. If deployed, the device would cause Earth's tectonic plates to collapse, rendering the planet uninhabitable. On the ground, humanity's command center intercepted energy spikes from the flagship. General Carter's sharp eyes widened as the data came in. "They're trying to destroy the planet," he said, his voice grim. "If they can't have it, they'll make sure we don't either." Colonel Drexler stepped forward, her tone firm. "We can stop them. The Solar Reaver is vulnerable if we push through their remaining fleet. Give me the Blackwing squadrons and clearance to launch the Aegis strike package." Carter studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Do it. Every second counts." Chapter 6. Humanity's Counterstrike. High above Earth, humanity's fleet shifted its focus. While smaller ships continued to harass and distract the Dominion's forces, a concentrated assault, spearheaded by Blackwing squadrons, the most elite pilots in humanity's arsenal, cut through the void toward the Solar Reaver. These pilots, flying heavily armored yet nimble fighters, carried payloads capable of breaching even the Dominion's formidable hulls. The battle for the Solar Reaver was ferocious. Vocari fighters, sleek and automated, swarmed to intercept the human squadrons, but Blackwing pilots fought with the kind of unpredictable creativity machines could not replicate. Fighter after fighter weaved through incoming fire, dodging plasma bolts and strafing enemy vessels with high-caliber railguns. The space around the Solar Reaver became a storm of destruction as debris from destroyed ships littered the void. Inside the flagship, Natha watched the encroaching human ships with a mixture of disbelief and rage. How are they getting through? Increase fighter deployment, protect the destabilizer at all costs. But it was too late. One by one, Blackwing fighters broke through the Dominion's lines, delivering their torpedoes with devastating accuracy. The Solar Reaver shuddered violently as explosions tore through its outer hull. Fires erupted across its decks as systems began to fail. As the flagship descended into chaos, a final wave of human bombers approached, carrying the Aegis strike package, a warhead of extraordinary kinetic force, designed not to obliterate but to pierce through layers of shielding and armor before detonating deep within the target. The bombers launched their payload, and the warhead struck true. The solar reaver erupted in a blinding explosion, the shockwave ripping through nearby ships and sending debris hurtling toward Earth's upper atmosphere. The gravitic destabilizer, now exposed and failing, imploded harmlessly, leaving Earth untouched. Chapter 7: The Collapse of the Valkyrie Fleet. With the solar reaver destroyed, the Dominion's fleet was leaderless. Human forces, emboldened by their victory, pressed their advantage. Railguns and missiles tore through the remaining Valkyrie ships, their formations breaking apart as panic spread. The once mighty armada now resembled a scattering of frightened prey, fleeing in every direction. On the ground, Valkyrie troops found themselves stranded, their supply lines severed, their drones offline, and their commanders in retreat. They faced a relentless human counteroffensive. Civilians joined the fight, armed with salvaged weapons and an unyielding will to defend their home. Entire battalions of Valkyrie soldiers surrendered, their crystalline armor cracked and stained with the dirt of a planet they had underestimated. In orbit, humanity's ships executed the Dominion's survivors with brutal efficiency. No mercy was given to fleeing vessels. Carter's orders were clear: ensure no Valkyrie ship returned to deliver a report of humanity's capabilities. One by one, the Dominion's warships fell silent, their remains joining the growing graveyard of debris encircling Earth. Chapter 8: A Galaxy Relearns Fear. The battle for Sol became a legend almost overnight. Reports of the Valkyrie's defeat spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the Galactic Federation. At first, disbelief reigned. How could a primitive species defeat the Dominion's most advanced fleet? But as survivors began to recount the details of the battle, of railguns and missiles bypassing shields, of human soldiers fighting with unyielding ferocity, the Federation's attitude toward humanity shifted from derision to fear. On Erendor Prime, the Federation's capital, an emergency council convened. Representatives from hundreds of species debated humanity's place in the galaxy. Some argued for containment, fearing what humans might do if they chose to expand. Others proposed forging an alliance, believing it safer to have humanity as an ally than an enemy. Back on Earth, celebrations were tempered with vigilance. General Carter addressed his people from the ruins of the Dominion's invasion. This victory was not just ours, he said, his voice steady but resolute. It was a reminder to the galaxy that humanity may stumble, but we will never fall. And to those who would threaten our home, remember this: we may be outdated, but we are never outmatched. Epilogue: A Legacy Forged in Fire. Months after the invasion, Earth and its colonies rebuilt, stronger than before. Humanity's unity in the face of extinction became its greatest weapon. The debris of the Valkyrie fleet was salvaged, studied, and repurposed, blending Dominion technology with humanity's brutal practicality. In the years to come, humanity would venture beyond Sol, not as conquerors, but as survivors who had learned the hardest lessons of war. The galaxy watched with bated breath, uncertain of what humanity's rise would bring. On Earth, beneath the stars they had defended, humanity's leaders prepared for the next chapter. They knew the Valkyrie were only the beginning.